Hello everyone, Taki here. We do not typically see software updates from handheld manufacturers in this market, but the team behind the Miyoo Mini has been busy putting out quite a few updates for this little guy post-launch. As you know, this is currently my favorite ultra-budget gaming device, and the newest software updates and firmware package that I'm going to showcase in this video make it much better. Starting with the last update from January 8th, the device is now significantly easier to update in the future, and it gained easier support for user-customized themes as a result of Miyoo moving some of the crucial software bits from the internal storage to the SD card. This is a great thing for users and the custom firmware community. Here we have the two different devices that I own, both on two different firmware packages. In this video, we're going to go over the new software features in this new firmware, as well as a guide on how to update and use the device as a whole using my white unit. First, let's go over some of the significant changes in this firmware. As you can see, we have a brand new UI with darker grays and more vibrant accents. I think this is a big upgrade from the original UI. If you go over to the games section, we have a much better UI for our standalone systems. The second biggest change is in the settings section. Once here, you will see that we still have our old brightness adjustment, but we now have a section for color. With this new option, we have an unprecedented level of control over how our games look on this tiny device. I've never seen a product that lets you do something like this. The first option is illumination, and I have mine set to 4. There's a big variation from screen to screen, and this seems to balance out the colors without ruining the image quality on my gray unit. On the stock firmware, we only had brightness control, which meant you were out of luck if something was out of balance with your device's screen. We can bring this value up very high, but it can wash out the image over 10 since it seems to just be adjusting the gamma. We can also adjust the hue through trial and error, as well as saturation and contrast. Now what we're going to do is take this white device and go through the process of updating the device to this firmware and copying over my custom firmware, as well as going over how to use it. To start off, we are going to head over to the GitHub page linked in the description box below and look at the new update. The important changes for this January 8th update are here for you to read, but we're going to just head over and download this file now. I'm going to download this to my Miyoo Mini SD card and extract the files on the root of this card. After that's done, we need to head into this new folder and go into the firmware subdirectory and move the fw.img file to the root of our SD card. Then I'm going to delete the zip file that I downloaded. Now that we have our SD card ready, it's time to talk about the next part. To do this update process, the first thing that we need to do is remove our battery. Once the battery is removed, you can insert the SD card into the device. Now we need to power the device, and this is something that you need to pay attention to because you can break the device if something goes wrong. You need to get yourself a standard wall jack with a full-size USB port on one end to power the Miyoo Mini for this update process. Do not try to use your Type-C charger or your PC because the unit can brick itself during the update process if the power is interrupted. Stick to a charger like this and get yourself a normal Type-A to Type-C USB cable and you'll be fine. Once you have that squared away, all you need to do is connect this USB cable to your device and the unit should start the update process. You will know that you have done everything correctly if you see this message on the screen with the rocket icon. This update should take around 1 minute to complete, but Miyoo states that it can take up to 2 minutes. Again, make sure you do not mess with the device while this is happening, because you can easily brick the Miyoo Mini if something goes wrong. When the update is finished, you will know everything worked if you see the device reboot to this charging screen. Once you see that, you're good to go if you want to keep using this stock firmware, but I'm going to use my improved build on this white device. Before moving on, I want to briefly talk about SD cards. This device comes with an unbranded 32GB SD card with ROMs and configuration files that you need to use the device. On the two devices that I have, I've had my SD cards corrupt several times. You can verify your cards with testing programs, but it might just be worth it to upgrade the internal card to something bigger if it works for your budget. I'm using a cheapo 64GB card on one of my devices and a stock 32GB card on the other. I make frequent backups of both cards, so I'm never at a significant loss if something goes wrong again in the future with the stock card. For this guide, I'm going to assume that you will be upgrading your stock card. If you're planning on reusing your stock card as it is, you need to head over to your computer and delete that fw.img file. After that, head into the update folder again and go into the TF card folder. In here, you should find 3 folders, and we need to copy all 3 of these to the root of our SD card. When prompted to replace the existing files, make sure you select the first option to overwrite all of your old firmware files. Now we can delete our update folder because we do not need it. After you delete that, you can go right on ahead and use this card without doing anything else if you want. No matter which option you want to go with, I do want to go over some of the customization options that are now available to you. If you go into the Miyoo folder and then into the app subdirectory, you will find there is a skin folder. These are all of the UI assets that I showed off at the beginning of the video, and you can change these to whatever you want them to be with some simple work in Photoshop or another photo editing tool. The sky is really the limit here, and this is super easy to do. I happen to like the default UI, so I'm going to be keeping things the way that they are. The next thing that you can do is customize the background music for the main system. All you need to do is put an MP3 file inside the sound folder under the app subdirectory labeled as bgm.mp3, and you will hear it. Because I'm planning on starting over with a fresh card, I am going to set this card aside for now, but I will need some things from this in just a moment. The Miyoo Mini requires that you use a FAT32 SD card, and we're going to need the help of a free tool to format our 64GB card to a FAT32 file system. We're going to use Rufus for this because it is easy to use and readily available. In this example, I have a 64GB card with the J drive letter. The first thing that I need to do is change the boot selection option to non-bootable. I'm going to rename my SD card to Miyoo Mini 64, and then I'm going to change the file system option in the drop-down list to large FAT32 from the default option. Make sure to untick Create Extended Label and Icon Files, and then click Start. Once that is done, you are ready to go. This is my blank formatted SD card, and I'm going to paste over my SD card package from GitHub to the root of this drive. After that, I'm going to extract all of the files inside this 7Z file to the root of my SD card as you see on your screen now. After that finishes, I'm going to delete the SD card package and start working on the next step. This new package does not include any ROMs or BIOS files, but you do need those files from your stock card, and I will demonstrate exactly what you need to do to get them. On the stock card, head into the RetroArch folder, and then head into the .retroarch folder. From here, go over to the System folder, and you want to copy everything here except for the Cheats and Database folders. On top of this, we need to head into the EMU folder and go into the PS1 folder. Once here, you need to copy over the files inside the BIOS folder on your stock card to your new one. Now the only thing that you need to do is add your games to the folders inside the ROMs directory. Depending on what came with your Miyoo Mini, you can copy over games from your stock SD card and/or dump or obtain your own. I have finished transferring over files from my stock card, so I'm ready to move on. I've gone ahead and reinserted my configured 64GB card into my Miyoo Mini, and I'm now going to move over to show off some of the important changes of this new firmware package. The first thing that I want to show is that there are now more systems added to the game section with new icon artwork to go with them. I want to talk about some of the system hotkeys and configurations, so let's head into a Super Nintendo game. As you can see, the system automatically loads into the last save state, and this happens very quickly. This makes the device very pick up and play friendly. When you are in a game, we have 2 ways to open a menu. For only 3 standalone emulators, you have to press the center function button. For almost everything else, you will press Start and Select, which will bring up the RetroArch menu. By default, I have the video scaling set to core provided, but you can change this to 4:3 if you want. I also have integer scaling turned off to maximize screen space. Now let's head back into the game to go over some other details. If you want to make a save state or use any other hotkey, you need to press the function key plus another button. To do a save state, the combination is function plus down on the D-pad. You can also load a save state with function plus up on the D-pad. If you ever need to restart the game, you can do that with function plus select. You need to be extra careful not to close the game after restarting, or you will ruin your last save state. If you are in a game and you want to close it, you can press function plus a double tap of the start button. This will make a save state for you when the game closes, so you can boot right back up to where you left off the next time you load the game. There are some times when you would not want this, and you can turn this off if you ever need to. And finally, if you are playing a grindy game, You can press Function plus R1 to activate Fast Forward. You can disable this again if you want to by pressing the key combination again. Outside of these key combinations, there are a ton of extra emulators and core options inside the RetroArch section that you can use to play the other supported systems for this firmware package. If you want to remove a system from this list, all you need to do is delete the relevant folder inside the R-App directory. Anyway, I hope this guide helped you if you are a Miyoo Mini owner or you are thinking about being one. If you want to support my work, consider leaving a like below and feel free to take a look at another video on screen now. Happy gaming everyone. Taki out.